Caelan, this is probably a question that can be quite obvious and I probably know the answer, but what is it when you face the Springboks that distinguishes them from any other team you play?
Physicality is the word that comes to mind. I remember this one.
Yeah, pick apart.
My voice is still kind of gone from the other week. I remember kind of being shocked at just the sheer size of them, playing them in November. The fact they kind of do a 6-2 or even 7-1 sometimes off the bench and have massive reinforcements coming off the bench as well. But it's definitely not the only strength to their bow. We've got a lot of pace in their backs. Their forwards are capable of keeping the ball alive and offloading. Obviously, the physicality is tied into their set piece. They've got a great maul, great line-out options as well, have a very strong line-out and scrum as well. So getting those areas right is going to be big. Our collisions, something we've spoken about over the last few weeks, which we haven't been very happy with, going back to the pre-season games, and even over the last couple of weeks they've improved a little bit, but it's going to be a step up this week for sure. Things like two-man tackles, getting our tackle light right, our tackle entry, all those areas are going to be pretty big this weekend.
I know it guarantees nothing, but can you take confidence from having beaten them, having won your last 15 games, having won, I think, all by 2 the last 29, whatever it is?
Definitely. I think looking back at that game, we knew we had to be on it in terms of our defence, in terms of our physicality. I know it's a bit of a buzzword, but there's a bit of a mindset that goes with that, and that week in Dublin it took a step up, and we know it'll require the same this week. I think if we match them there, we have a lot of belief in what we can do in terms of our attack. We've shown some of that over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a test and a big step up from what we've seen so far.
Thanks, Caelan.
Caelan, can you talk a bit about the work that you've done around the goal line dropout? It's almost like a new set piece, and you've been kind of central to setting up lots of that. I mean, do you see it now as another set piece, and presumably you work really hard on it?
Yeah, it's something we've drilled for a while now, and yeah, like you say, it is kind of a third set piece in a way. We're seeing a lot of teams doing it, adding sort of set plays off restarts, and yeah, it's something we've looked to do as well.
Something I was asking Jack about, the experience that's in the squad. Like, I mean, you're still relatively newcomer into the squad. What have the experience guys done for you in terms of kicking you on to another level?
You pick up, it's hard to give a definitive answer on that. You pick up lots of little things off different guys throughout big weeks, how they approach a big week, the mindset bits, skill bits, so many little bits. Like, it's kind of hard to say in one big thing or two big things. There's so many little areas across the board that you pick up on. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mick?
John was in earlier, he was saying there's an edge, you feel an edge this week. How does that kind of manifest itself in terms of players? Like, how does it happen?
It's interesting because Paulie actually spoke to us earlier and said on these big weeks you can feel like you need to do way more, but trust in what we've done over the last while, trust in our good habits, in our training, in our drills. Not that we're just building this week, but what we've built over the last few years. But having said that, then there is a special feeling to the week. We know we need to deliver our best, and what comes with that is maybe little extra conversations or an extra walkthrough in the evening or a bit of extra video, extra visualization, things like that, just to make sure you're fully across the board. But Paulie's point was kind of enjoy the week. When you're off, you're off. Don't get overstressed about thinking you have to do way too much this week. A lot of the work is done.
Yeah, Caelan, going just back to the November game, how much do you think Springboks have kind of moved on with their game since that point, from what you're seeing of them now?
They've definitely evolved quite a bit. They were missing a few players back then as well, but like that game against the All Blacks 3 weeks ago or so, some of their attack was very impressive. They still have the physical edge, which is in their DNA really, going years back. But they've definitely added layers on top of it. Like I said, some of the threats they have out wide with their backs, their forwards, the likes of Steph Dutoy and Snyman, their ability to keep the ball alive and offload after having won dominant collisions. Going hard at the breakdown is something we've seen from them over the last while as well, and yeah, we reckon they'll try and disrupt there quite a bit.
And likewise in Ireland, since that day?
Yeah, like I've said to you guys a few times, I think a lot of there's kind of two parts to our evolution. Some is adding extra bits and new layers, like the goal line dropouts we spoke about there, and then other is just getting better at our basics. There's a lot of belief in our attack, and when we deliver on it, it can cause damage to teams. So just being more consistent and delivering on that.
Thanks, Caelan.
Can I just talk about the mental edge? This would be particular mental edge required for this South Africa. If they go 6-2 or 7-1, how does that change you as a player? Are you thinking in the first half, you may be wearing forward times, you're winning collisions, but you also know that it could be almost completely pack in the second half? What's that like as a player, and how do you those unique challenges of that, and how do you adapt?
Sorry, my mate's getting a bit dry. I need a bit of water. It doesn't actually change too much. We sort of talk about delivering on an 80-minute performance regardless of who we're playing, and knowing that some teams target the last 20 minutes. So we also speak about our bench coming off and not just fitting in, but actually taking it up a level. So that will be important for us this weekend.
Conditioning-wise, I think you talk about how great they are as physical specimens. Do you feel you have confidence of where you are as a pack to be able to cope with that challenging, as you say, take it on?
Yeah, I think it's been a great pre-season for us. Lads are probably in pretty optimal shape, I would say. Some of our best condition we've seen over the last few years. And yeah, we sort of back our fitness against most teams, back our smarts as well. So yeah, pretty confident in that area.
Thanks, Paul and Rory.
How are you?
I can ask you guys on this program and that still in South Africa from Everton Saturday. So how are you then still feeling happy with yourself to making this World Cup?
Yeah, probably more prove to ourselves as opposed to prove to other people. I think, like I've said, there's so much belief amongst this group, and there's belief that we can still get a lot better. So delivering that in such a big game in Paris in front of 80,000 people, hopefully a lot of Irish there as well. But yeah, it's just about constantly getting better as a group, and yeah, there's belief that we can improve quite a bit. So it's always striving for the perfect performance.
Thanks, Rory.
You touched on there, look, it's your first time back in Paris since that Six Nations game last year, and I feel you spoke about the mental challenge within that game when the crowd went on top of you and back down through. And I know it's going to be a very different competition, different challenge, but if you want to win this thing, you have to win 5 games and start the practice to do it. How much more ready are you now with all the work with Gary, personal work, the games you've played since, to handle all that? And you think it's a group or
Yeah, it's a good question. I remember kind of being a little bit taken aback by it, going into it just from the warm-up, the almost a palpable intensity and atmosphere from the French in particular, drums banging and stuff like that. So I think having experienced it once, it's an easier thing to visualise and be aware of. Like you say, hopefully there'll be a good few more green shirts there as well. But that's kind of, it would have been something we touched on, and like your question, Cian, what can the experienced players offer? It's the queuing up of that and being aware of that. And myself having been through it now, yeah, it'll be a little bit less of a shock, I think.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, you're talking about their physicality. There's a lot of very big packs around the world. Is it just that they're maybe more aggressive? And if so, how does that come out? Is it just in their...
It's a Springbok cap.
just in terms of how they get right, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it an aggression thing they have that's different?
Yeah. So it's not just their size; it's the way they play. I think they're very direct off 9. They'll have sometimes 2 or 3 players latched onto a carrier and really trying to drive them over the gain line. It's the way they maul. Like you mentioned, it's the ruck, the way they aggressively go after it. So it's partly obviously their size and their actual physicality, but then partly the mindset and the way they play that comes with that.
And there's probably a lot of teams coming up against them who are a bit intimidated by the whole talk of the bomb squad and all that physicality you're talking about. Do you think as a side, as a pack in particular, you can intimidate other teams? And if so, what is it about your game of do that to other teams?
I think we've got good ball playing forwards. I think we've got kind of multiple threats in that we've got good carriers, but we've also got people who are capable of tipping the ball on, giving passes, giving wider passes. So it's not just kind of tuck and carry. There's footwork. There's, yeah, like I said, plus or minus passes as well as the carry threat. So hopefully defences find that a little bit intimidating.